Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. So today I have David Cowan here with me, and he's got some questions he wants to ask, and we're just gonna chat today. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi, David. Welcome.
How you going?
Good. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you.
So the internet might be
Yeah,
a
I'm really
little
well,
slow,
thanks.
you
I mean, you
guys.
and
Go ahead.
yeah, we've been chatting off camera a fair bit recently and sharing different things. There's so much going on, isn't there? It just seems like
Mhm.
it's all coming to this crescendo now, and you don't even know where to look sometimes because there's just too many things.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just expect things to happen and just kind of let them unfold. Don't get wrapped up in any one thing. It's
Yeah.
it's all chess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was asking me that today. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about the details. It's all coming together right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of chess, I was wondering, did the deep state have many moves left? Like what moves would they have left? In terms of
No.
other agendas and things like that.
They're
Nothing really.
just, it's all white hats now, in my opinion. And they're just playing
Yeah,
out some of the old moves that were going to happen to just kind of do wake up stuff. They're just continuing the routine, but it's not much longer. Doesn't feel like it feels like we're coming to the crescendo, like the climax of the movie right now to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah. I think one of the biggest disclosure things, in my opinion, was the Anne Heche uh,
Yeah.
death,
Yeah.
because ordinarily, I mean, if you just take it at face value at what it was, what they said, it's one of those classic stories where uh, the official story doesn't add up to all the other stuff. There's just too many conflicting details, and then yeah, I don't know if you saw. I don't know. I might have sent you that video where the camera is this is the camera. Like, why would there be a camera?
Way up high.
Shooting the car as it hit. I don't know if that. Yeah, and also there's one up high. And then it zooms in right at the exact time that she gets out of the she pops up out of the thing. Um, and then it says that so to me it was an obvious disclosure op, and then
Yeah.
it comes out that she's done those movies,
Yeah.
the
I watched a
sex trafficking
firefighter
one,
talk
and
about
there
it
was another
this
one she did
morning.
called Toxic Skies
Yeah.
about chemtrails.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that she's, helping right now. And I don't even think that was her. Like, I don't think that was her actual body running around. I think it was another
Right.
actor. Yeah. So, but the whole thing is
Yeah.
hilarious, really, to me. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. And it's obvious that she's probably fine. She's stashed away somewhere and she's totally fine. Well, the internet's being really,
Yeah. I would imagine so.
yeah,
It was just too blatant, and then you were supposedly, killed themselves, and those stories didn't add up either. But no one really knew about that. That wasn't really covered in the media in the way that the Anne Heche thing was, with the footage of it actually happening, So
it was
it's
kind of
it's
like
far
a
more obvious
bad
in my
a
opinion.
bad movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was
Hmm.
just all yeah. It was very interesting.
I watched
But
a
no, I
firefighter
did
talk
have some
about it
questions.
today. Go ahead. Sorry, guys,
Oh
we're
yeah,
a
there you
little
go. You
off.
go first.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, so one of my biggest questions was around the environment,
Mm.
and obviously there's a lot of deforestation that's been happening over the last, well, just the last few decades, and we've deforested so much, and animal species have been extinct, and there's lots of poaching going on, and I kind of wanted, and there's lots of plastic and terrible things in the ocean, and everything seems to be all messed up. Like
Mhm.
when do you think like something like that will start to not, I don't want to say fix itself, but I would imagine that we would need some off-world help to get things back to
Yeah.
to where they should be faster. You know,
I think the plastic will get cleaned up almost in a blink. Like it'll be very quick. As far as like the deforestation,
yeah,
that's going to be a little slower, and I think humanity is going to have to help with it. So the weather is going to change dramatically. So it'll be more
yeah,
supported, like, plants will be more supported, but we still have to speed it up and plant them. So there'll be a lot of like tree planting parties and
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
stuff like that will happen. Hmm.
yeah. The because you mentioned the weather, I am seeing a lot of flooding still going on. Like it's pretty much almost every country, and the amount of flooding that's going on everywhere. Uh, is that all part of? Is that all part of an operation to cleanse the earth? Is that some of it natural, some of it unnatural? What do you think?
I think it's all pretty much unnatural. Um, I think they're using the weather to finish the cleanup. That's what I've been getting. So there's frequency and weather. And I think that's why like Las Vegas got flooded twice. They're flooding all the cities.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all the cities. It's not like you're not hearing this small town got flooded. You're hearing this city is just like everything stopped. Nothing works because, there's so much water. Yeah.
mm. Yeah. It's everywhere. Yeah, lots of
Every single
cities.
day there's a new one.
But there's also yeah, exactly. And there's also very extreme weather. A lot of tornadoes, a lot of some tornadoes in places that you would never ever see tornadoes. As well.
Yeah. So one thing, they have these weather stations where they're creating weather. And I've been getting that where they clash. So like, this station's creating weather and then this one is, and then they'll come together. And when they clash, they create the tornado. And I think they're
Mm.
using them in excess. Like they're overusing these places, these weather places,
Who's
and I
they?
don't want to say the white hats. They're using them for cleanup and it's causing all this crazy weather
Yeah.
because they're like, let's
Okay.
just get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
think
one of
they're
those
tired
cases
of it
where
too, the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most people are tired of the movie.
Yeah.
It's
I've
and
had a
it
lot of
it
people freaking out about it lately. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
it's monotonous. It's gone on too long.
it has. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I also wonder because I only really you could say I fully woke up to what was going on, when 2 years ago when it all started.
Mhm.
Um, so I wonder because the 17th letter has been around for quite some time before then. I would imagine there was a movie. The movie has been going on for longer than that even. So
It's been going on for 20 or 30 years, you know, like in a big
yeah,
way. And before that, it was in the background. So, I mean, I've
right.
always known there was something wrong here. I'm like, what is going on in this place? And I'm sure most of us who are
Mm,
awake have, like, we haven't totally understood why the world is the way it is. Like, it doesn't really make sense. And now, like, it's about to change into making sense. So we're all excited and ready and tired of waiting. Whereas some people are just
yeah,
like, they're not ready, but they're going to have to get ready because they don't have any time left
Hmm.
to wait. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense when I found out about, you know, when I found out more about the bad plan and everything. Um, it actually does make a lot of sense the way things have actually turned out, and everything that leading up to it, and all the little bits here and there does actually make a lot of sense. I think it takes a lot to wrap your head around it, though.
Mhm.
But because why would a group of people be so evil, or why are they doing that, Because, but it's all for this one thing, Just
Yeah.
kind of does make sense.
The easiest way for me to wrap my head around it and what I tell people is they weren't human. So it really has nothing to do with why would a person
Mm,
want to do that? Because that's what I get, that question comes up to me all the time. Why
right.
would they want to do that? And I said, because they're not human. They don't see us as like the same. So, you know, we're the cows for them,
Makes
but
more
they're
sense.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, makes more sense.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
The have you seen any pictures of like purple skies or red and orange skies, in different parts of the world?
yeah. So that
What's that all about? Is that something to do with the galactics or
no, I think it's the frequency of the dome is failing. So we're
okay?
seeing kind of like, how they have the northern lights? That's frequency.
Mm.
That's like it looks beautiful, but it's actually part of the frequency
Yeah,
of the dome. And I always got that it was like part of where the dome was being generated, like the frequency was being generated. That was like almost think of it as off gassing. So it's creating that color, which is beautiful to us, but it's really not the best thing. And now it's off gassing everywhere. Like the
mm.
northern lights are being seen in all kinds of weird places now.
Yeah. We had purple skies in Australia over east,
Yeah.
apparently, and in China, I think they had the red sky, and some places are orange. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And there was a green one in
It's
Iowa, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Because some people think it's connected to the plasma, and there's going to be like a big plasma cataclysm or something.
No, I don't think so. I don't get that at all. Um, the space is plasma, but space is also like sticky. And we're inside of the firmament, whatever they call the firmament. So basically, we're in a terrarium inside of another
Yeah,
little terrarium. So we're double bubbled.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And right, right. And and while we're on that topic, so you mentioned that the Earth is kind of like a toroidal, and that it's got the inner Earth and it's got a bottom bit. Kind of looks like an apple core a little bit in some
Yeah.
ways.
Hmm.
Um, and you said that the very bottom of the Earth, where there's also land, is kind of like where Australia would be on the globe, right? So it's kind of like upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's upside down, only it's magnetic. So the earth is magnetic. So they don't really realize that they're upside down. They think we're the weird ones up here,
Right.
you know, like it feels fine to them,
So they're
even though
still
they're upside
so
down.
it's exactly like what we would think that our Earth is. Kind of similar to that. It's like
Yeah.
it's yeah. And
There's land and water and all that.
so they don't walk around like there and then we're on top. They actually walk up upside down, but it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's upside down.
That's what I get. They walk like they're upside down and it feels fine to them because the magnetics, it doesn't make it feel like it's odd. Like it doesn't matter where they're at the bottom or the top, it feels the same. But for us, we wouldn't be able to handle it in that area
Yeah.
because who's there? Like, I feel like it's like a melting pot of ETs. And we would be like, we
Oh, okay.
couldn't handle
Right.
the melt. It would be like when you look at Star Wars and they all go to that bar and there's all these different ETs in this bar. It would be like going there.
Yeah, yeah,
And we'd be like, oh,
yeah.
how do I handle myself? Like, we wouldn't know what to
Yeah, right.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it feels like down there. I just see it
How
as
long would it how
very,
long would it take? How long okay. How long would it take to travel from one end to the other if you were traveling normal speed like in a plane or something? You reckon?
oh, and a plane. It would take like years and years and years.
Okay, so it's massive. It's
It's
huge.
massive. Earth is way bigger than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
And
don't
then
think,
multiple
yeah, we wouldn't be allowed to do it that way. We would have to go through like a portal, you know.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then multiple planets like that
Yeah.
around? Right.
There's many, many Earth-like planets, and they're all going through the ascension process.
Huh.
Yeah.
And 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 what about so on our Earth planet, we've got our bit, and then um out around us, surrounding us, there are little bits like us, yeah, where they have
There's
land
other
inside.
Earth-like planets in other solar systems all over the place. Yeah. Is
I mean,
that what
just
you mean?
like just not the Earth planet, but the actual part what we think is Earth.
Hmm.
Our little pond. Let's call it a pond, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So there's the pond with all the land in there. That's what we have,
Mhm.
and there are multiple of those all over this planet, too, all over Earth too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all open, but it's basically like 3/4. So we're in 1/4 of Earth's top.
Yeah.
And then the rest is all open. There's no domes or anything like that. If it's a dome, it's just like somebody's house.
So we're the only dome. We're the only
We're the
domed
only
part.
dome. Yeah, we're the only dome in this universe
Yeah.
that I know of. Because I've asked, I'm like, is there more of these domes? And it was kind of like an experiment. And it's definitely caused a lot of stress,
Right. Right.
dome, because of the negativity that went on here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do each of the other ponds on Earth, are they are we talking about Mars and what we think are the planets of the solar system, or are those actually other planets
There are
outside of
other there are other planets.
there
There
are
is
other
a
planets?
map I've seen where they say this planet's here and this planet's here, and that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
when I saw it, I was like, oop, wrong. So it's
yeah.
there's actual planets.
And they're massive too.
Yeah, especially Mars. Mars is gonna look like unbelievable in the sky.
So
It's
our solar system, then, what we think is a solar system, is really not the solar system at all. It's because what we, you know what I mean? You know what I
Well,
mean?
I mean, it's still there. Like the solar system is described fairly accurately as far as where the planets reside in it, but we're kind of in like a jello-like substance. So everything is moving very slow,
Yeah,
except for it's spinning, because it does spin. Every planet spins. And that's what
right.
eventually gets you around the sun is the
So it
sun.
actually does. So it actually,
Yeah, but it takes so much longer. I got that it takes like 10,000 years to get around the sun,
oh, wow, okay. That's interesting.
which was,
So
that was a hard one. It's like, oh, yeah.
so what they've done is they've taken some truth and
Hmm.
also distorted it and a lot of falsities
Yeah,
to create the model of the world that we believe we're in at the moment.
right. Right. It's
Yeah.
funny. I saw something this morning and I think I sent it to you, but it was like these two guys, and this one guy's like, oh, well, the sun is, and then the other guy says, It's outside of, the planet. Why is space not lit up?
Yeah, yeah,
Why is there no light in space if the sun is in space?
right.
Like, yeah,
Makes sense.
there's
Makes
so
sense,
much
doesn't it? Because
stuff that's obvious that nobody thinks about.
it's only light on Earth.
Yeah,
It's like a torch and just like
right. And it's because we
yeah,
have a false sun, you know,
yeah.
inside of a
It's
controlled
amazing.
environment.
So when the dome comes down, will our sun that we know of and our moon, will those two just disappear? Because they're part of the illusion, aren't they?
Hmm. They will. So we'll see a much larger sun in the sky, and it will be very similar to the sun we're seeing now because that's like a reflection of that sun. But the moon will
That's a
look
good.
totally different. So the moon will be
Yeah,
more smooth because it's actually a spaceship. Like it's in between Earth and Mars, and it's a
yeah.
ship. It's not. It doesn't have dust all over it like that.
So it looks actually more like the Death Star does in
Yeah,
in Star Wars. Yeah.
exactly. And that was
Does the
disclosure.
Right? Yeah, makes sense. Is the current moon a hologram too?
Yeah,
Or yeah.
yeah.
So there's no way that you can land on it. There's no way that it's a hologram. You can't.
I think I've seen a lot of stuff with like a little ship will go there, and I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes they're working on part of the contraption, that maybe projects the moon to us.
Mm, mm,
It's not totally understandable to me. And maybe that's because like the technology is like beyond what we have or what we have access to, so it doesn't totally make sense. But I do get it's some sort of plasma like material, and it actually
yeah.
has its own light, like it glows on its own. The sun has nothing to do with it, really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They say that the moon is light is a reflection of the sun, but I've woken up many times, or I've been studying the moon and the sun a little bit, or looking more closely at it, over the last 6 months or a year or whatever, and it just doesn't add up. Sometimes you see the moon there, and the sun's right behind it, and the moon is lit up, so there's no way that it could be the
Mm-mm,
light from the sun. It's not possible. So
no. And I've
mm,
noticed, have you noticed that the sun is like setting in different places and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, weird. You're like, okay.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I wake up and it's like right there, and sometimes it's over there, and
Hmm.
mm,
I
yeah,
think
it's very
they're
strange.
trying to show us like, hello, this isn't very real, you know,
Yeah,
in small ways. They're trying to awaken.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so do you think we'll be able to travel to these other Earth planets then? And
Not for a long time. Maybe once we're back to being an ET, we will. I feel like a lot of
yeah,
them are not ready for that.
yeah, yeah.
They're moving into fourth density positive as well, but they're not going to be ready to see other humans from another Earth planet. It's almost like if you meet yourself, like when you're time traveling or something, you know how they
Mm.
would say that was really a bad idea to meet yourself if you were time traveling and you would almost like screw up
Oh
your
yeah,
own life. It feels
yeah.
like that to me, like it's not a good idea. But that doesn't mean we can't go to Mars. We can go to Mars, we could go to Venus, we can go to other planets, but not the Earth like planets right away.
So the Earth planets are uh, kind of like the multiverse, where it's exactly the same as this planet,
That's what
and
it feels like. Yeah.
and you have the same people, different versions of the same people on those
Hmm.
planets. Is that like Sliders? Remember that show Sliders?
No, I didn't see it, but that's what it feels like. It
Because
feels
there was a
like it's another version of the experiment, because God's horse is always experimenting.
yeah, in sliders at the start or at the intro credits and everything, they had a picture of space and just all these Earths lined up. It's like rows upon rows of Earth planets. Maybe that was disclosure too. Must have been.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, even when they said they discovered that there was like, an infinite amount, I can't remember how many, it was like millions and millions of other Earths or Earth-like
Mm,
planets.
yeah,
Yeah. And that was NASA or somebody, which that's not even a real thing, it's all a movie too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Do you remember? Have you seen any of those videos from back in? It must have been early 1900s, late 1800s, where they had conveyor belts and things in Paris and probably other cities and countries as well, where you could just jump on this conveyor belt kind of thing and walk and travel.
Yeah.
You think those will come back?
No, I think we're beyond that. We're going to go beyond that. I think that was
Okay.
old Tartarian stuff, and they've invented
Yeah.
something better at this point, like maybe levitation boots or
Yeah. That's funny you
yeah,
said that. That was what kind of popped into my head when you said no. It was like we're going to be levitating in some sort of way.
yeah. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
feel guilty when I'm like stepping on the flowers and stuff, as I go on my walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
very interesting.
It is.
Do you? I was talking to Dale. I was speaking to Dale about this. We were going to do a video about it at some point. We probably will, but about the 17th letter because there's a lot of opinion about what that is
Hmm.
exactly. Some people say it's a negative psyop. Some people say it's not. Some people believe they think what it is, a plan to save the world. When you first uh, came across it, what were your initial thoughts?
I feel like it's a group of people, but they're led by an ET group. So
Mm,
it's like they have access to the real knowledge, like the complete knowledge. And that's how they're able to come up with all that stuff. Because the ET group, it's almost like a higher self. Like they know the story, they know all of the story because time is not the way we see it. Time is not linear, it's circular. So they can
mm,
say, this is what you want to write, and this is when it's going to happen, and that kind of
yeah,
stuff. So I feel like it's the Navy and like a small group of ETs.
right.
Hmm.
And they're obviously taking us to let's call it the newer world, not the
Right.
yeah,
The ascended world, the healed world, really, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So what do you think like the medical and dental industries will look like then in the new in that world? You think they'll be kind of because and even law, like all the traditional kind of education uh, vocations, right?
Hmm.
Where they've been used for they've been used in a certain way, they've been created for certain things, you know.
Yeah. Um, Common law will come back. And then eventually it'll just be like, oh, you did something that hurt this other person. You have to go see the council. There'll be like a community
Like a galactic
council or a
council or
city
something, or
council, and they're going to figure out what you need to do and also what you need like to help you not do it again.
mm,
So, I mean, in this context, we would say like, what's the rehab for you? And like, why did you punch that person in the face? And then also what do you have to do for the person that you punched to make up for it? So those kind of
mm,
things. And people won't really be interested. Like the frequency is not going to be in that kind of polarity state anymore. So it will be very rare.
right, right,
But it'll almost be like somebody got sick and they got dehydrated and they got angry, so then they did that. It'll just
Is
be,
there um I was talking to somebody, and this happened to me too. Must have been last year. All of a sudden I had this thought, I should probably go and get the thing. And there's a hub near my house, and he had the same thing. It's like, go and get it. It seems to be that there is some sort of a frequency that's beaming into people's heads and messing with their thought process to get them to want to go and get this thing. Is that still functioning? And if not, or if so, not anymore?
no.
Will there be something to replace it in that's positive? So people are kind of, because frequency is everything. So
Yeah. There'll
so
be a frequency, but it won't be telling you things.
yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah. It'll just be the frequency itself, and you'll be able to make your choices with that feeling. Just like when you hear a musical note, it'll be like that, but it won't be saying you have to go do this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And will that be something that's set up in every city, or will it be a countrywide thing, or how will it work? Like,
I think that'll come through the cell towers too. So
okay, yeah,
a lot of stuff that's new is going to come through towers, like cell
makes sense.
towers
Yeah,
and different, tall buildings. I don't feel like
yeah,
they're going to people are going to come out of the cities.
yeah, yeah,
They won't like it anymore. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah.
Have you seen you? I mean, you saw that video with all those electric not towers, but those, I guess you could call them towers, mini towers, I suppose, like electric lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you think they'll be part of that?
I do. And we have enormous, like huge power lines that are made of metal that are just
Yeah.
been going up over the last like 2 years. And
Okay.
they're so massive. Like I've never seen a power line that looked like that before. So
Yeah.
it's obviously a conductor.
We have some pretty big ones here.
Yeah.
Um, I
It's
know
like
that
as big
they're
as one of those windmills, those stupid windmills that are white that are, enormous and you have to carry it on like a semi in parts.
yeah,
They're huge like that. Like they're extremely big.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that's really big then. Yeah. I don't think these ones are that big.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they're not, but to me, I'm just like, wow, it's amazing. And they
Yeah.
have to use a helicopter for part of it.
Is there gonna be like new methods for recycling? Because there's so much waste, you know what I mean? Like there's so much waste on the planet that we need to get rid of. Things like landfill. There's plenty of, all let's say, car, plane bodies, car bodies, ship bodies, all these different things that are just clogging out the planet. Is there going to be a different way? How are we going to get rid of those?
Replicators. So, have you heard of a replicator?
Sorry, I missed that. It
Have you
cut
heard of
out
a
there.
replicator before?
No.
Okay, so not only are we going to have flying cars, but we're going to have replicators. So what it is it's almost like a 3D printer, but it needs matter. So you'll feed it in one way and then whatever you want will pop out the other side, basically. So it's like a machine that creates what you want. So, oh, my internet's unstable. So if you think about Star Trek and how they would go into the cafeteria and just order their food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, you put in matter and then it creates what you want. So I think they'll
Okay.
have replicators for cities, and that's
Mm.
where all the waste will go is into these
Ah,
replicators.
right. Okay.
I don't think they'll make food out of that. I don't get that they'll make food out of that because people won't eat it. They'll be like, no, I'm not going to eat garbage.
Yeah.
But it'll make different things like furniture or, whatever. Things will just pop out.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because Dave Wilcock said that there was a machine that could recycle anything and turn it into water, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't get that's totally accurate. I mean, Earth is always making water. I wonder what else. Um, I get it needs certain elements to make water. It's not totally
Right.
accurate what he's saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the 144,000?
It's a frequency.
No, not that. I mean the 144,000 souls, or do you know what I mean?
It's not souls, it's a frequency.
Okay.
I think it has to do with the photon belt that we're going through, but
Yeah.
it's a frequency. And a lot of people think, like the Jehovah Witnesses think, that that's all that's going to live is 144,000 people. That's all that gets into heaven, but it's
Right.
an actual frequency, not
So
beings.
some people think it's like 144,000 souls came to Earth to help save it. You know.
There's more.
No. Well, yeah, it have to be more than that, because if it was just that many, then there'd be a lot of NPCs running around.
Yeah. Like just maybe the first wave was 144,000.
Okay.
So there's the scouts that came, and they came just like you would in the military. You send a scout. And
Yeah.
then there was the warriors, then there was the healers, and then we have the builders, but we also have bridges. So you're a bridge. So
Right.
you'd be in between the healer and the builder.
Mm.
So you're basically creating a safe space for the builders. That's what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything? Is there anything? Because one of the biggest things that I would like to see is a world that doesn't need charities anymore. You know,
Yeah.
because
We won't.
a lot of the charities
Are
have
negative.
just been hoarding, have been hoarding the money and doing God knows what with it,
Mm-hmm.
and not just that, but it's just the whole idea of having to need a charity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just having all these people and everything that needs funding from a charity. You know what I mean? Like it. Yeah, I just don't want to have. I would like to live in a world where that doesn't exist. You know, when
Everybody will have more than enough. So there's not going to be any need for that. It will be kind of a transition because a lot of people are used to being like, paycheck to paycheck, stressed about money. And that's been part of the enslavement. So it'll be a slow, gradual, like, going up the mountain kind of thing. It'll take a couple of years for everybody to realize that money isn't really needed very much anymore.
because because free energy and the cost of living is going to come down massively, and
Yeah. Like you'll have a home, you'll have a car, and you'll have food. And then you'll think about, what do I need money for?
yeah,
So money will become more of it won't be a necessity. It'll be something you can play with.
right.
Yeah.
Will there be? I just forgot what the question. It'll come to me, I'm sure.
Okay.
It was something about that, but yeah.
Restaurants are going to be the big place where people use money.
Oh yeah, that was the question.
Yeah.
Are people going to stop you know how some people are addicted to spending money or just buying things? Are we as a human race going to stop doing things like that and spending, just money on useless things, or maybe not useless, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, all the plastic nonsense is going to go away. So we're not going to be manufacturing all this junk that we don't need.
Yeah.
But people are going to, the consciousness will rise and people will realize, oh, I can have whatever I need whenever I need it. Like it'll just show up. So we're going to learn how creative and how powerful we actually are.
Like we're going to be able to manifest things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we actually can do that now. We're the ones who kept this whole matrix going because we believed it was
Yeah.
real.
Hmm.
That's how it's become
Yeah.
so strong, and that's what they counted on. That's why they, told us all these stories all the time.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
to keep us, yeah,
it's so crazy.
it is.
Is is the Queen is the Queen the like the controller of the Matrix?
No, I feel like she was just one of the elites that was taken over, and then replaced by something else, by a lizard, you know.
Okay, so she wasn't born a lizard.
Mm-mm. I don't think so. I don't get she was.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You reckon because some of them, do you think some of the royal families are lizards?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But they were born, and when I say that, I mean they were born like that, not taken over that later
I
on.
feel like they get taken over. Like they have to have a form of reference. That's what I'm getting. So, how the lizards can shape shift. I feel like they
Yeah.
have to have a reference of what am I supposed to look like?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, yeah,
Because it seems as though a really high percentage of royals and celebrities and newsreaders have been taken over,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
tons. And I feel like they get taken out. They're like, oh,
They get
that's
they
a
get
good
yeah, they
one.
get
Let's take you out and put this in.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a
right.
very
Right. Okay.
bad idea to try and be a newscaster, I guess, or something else like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's crazy. I've seen some very interesting videos. Sometimes you see those ones in the faces, the heads go all distorted and stuff. It's a little bit difficult to see, but I've seen some real clear videos where they didn't distort at all, and like their whole the teeth went sharp, and her eyes just went really strange.
Right in
Not
the neck.
necessarily slits, but
Yeah.
not necessarily slits, but it's just like they got really small.
Mhm.
Quite a lot smaller, and her teeth were, and her neck got really thin, and it was like rippling. Like it had ridges on it. I was just looking at this thing. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of
And
the
that's
best ones
why
I've ever
people
seen.
have to realize like that's what's been in control, not another human being.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's yeah,
It's
mind
mind
blowing.
blowing. Yeah.
Mind blowing. Have you seen that one where there's a guy, he's an American guy, African American guy, was outside doing a story, and I think there was a fly or something flying around, or a cricket or something, and his tongue came out. His tongue came out, and he ate this thing. And
No, I missed that one.
if I ever come across again, I'll send it to you. But
That's pretty
yeah,
funny.
he was just talking, and all of a sudden his tongue like came and ate this thing, and then he had walked off camera, and he wouldn't come back on, and yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, showing the true nature. And I think that lizards have been under control of the grays the whole time. So not necessarily
Yeah,
like in space are they under control of the grays, but here on Earth, I feel like they also got taken over. So the elites and the lizards got taken over. mind
So
control.
the elites were always just they always get taken over. So they weren't part reptilian, or I have a
Well,
lot more.
what I get is that when they took over the whole mud flood and all that kind of stuff, when the Greys took over inside the dome, they took over the elites because they made a deal with them because the elites were kind of losing at that point, and they took over
Okay,
the lizards. And then they replaced a lot of the elites with the lizards. So the elites kind of
okay,
they created their own death warrant basically
hmm.
because they signed away and didn't realize, okay, they're actually going to take it all. They thought they were getting more, but actually they were getting
uh,
taken over.
okay,
That's what I
yeah,
always
yeah,
get. Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Mm.
huh.
There's all these
Pretty crazy.
layers of weirdness, that happen. And that's why it's so hard to decipher all of it, you know?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because a lot of ancient tribes and civilizations, like the Aboriginals here, they painted the serpents. They painted a serpent, in the caves and stuff, and there's always a story about a serpent, you know, in a
Yeah.
lot of in a lot of old stories.
Yeah. And I think the snake has been part of the whole lizard group, for a long time. And I don't think the lizards were nice to humans, but
No, no,
they weren't as powerful as they became after they got mind controlled. Like they were kind of just existing and taking what they needed, is what it felt like to me. But then once they got taken over, they became like this really scary thing that was taking way more than it needed. And
yeah,
it was all about fear and harvesting fear
mm.
because the Greys were harvesting that energy. They were getting that energy and they really liked it, you know,
Right,
because they were like a hive mind robot race, just
yeah,
really yucky, but they're gone. So that's good.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the mainstream media continued to do um, a story, like what they do now, like every night. Is the news going to change into positive news, and what's the news going to look like?
I think it's going to be like disclosure news, like, oh, wow, we didn't realize this. We didn't know about this. Like, it's going to be like the announcement of this
Okay,
was really what was happening in the world.
for a what
And
for a long time, because
for a
I would
while.
imagine there's a lot to disclose.
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
Vatican Library will be released. And then we have a whole nother, like, enormous amount of information that's going to come out.
What kind of stuff is in the Vatican Library?
You have everything.
Like the true history of the world,
The
the
real history. Yeah.
the, the truth about the planet and the universe itself and things like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. And how Earth, was taken over
Okay.
by the Anunnaki. I feel like it goes all the way back to like 75,000, 80,000 years ago. It's all
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
Well, how old is the Earth?
The Earth
Billions,
is
billions of.
trillions of years old, I feel
Okay.
um, like a couple trillion. But as far as like, because it's recycled over and over again, and normally the Earth just recycles itself, like it creates the tectonic plates meet and maybe that one goes under, or something happens that the earth just takes over and says, okay, we're done with this scenario. And
Yeah.
that's why the arcs are all there to repopulate. And I feel like they've been there for just an unbelievable amount of time.
Hmm. Okay.
But as the earth is not supposed to do that this time, this is the time where we actually ascend within the same body. So it's a very unusual time, but it's been prophesized for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess because the Earth is so big and we're just a small part of it, it's much easier for the Earth to heal itself because of that reason. Because this
Yeah,
negative part of the Earth is a minute part of the entire thing.
it is.
Assuming that the rest is okay,
The rest is in good shape. Now, fourth
then
density
it's
positive inner Earth, it had its own drama,
yeah.
previously, but that's done now too. So,
As it's like healing a wound on a body.
yeah, it's like a sore, like
Yeah,
one of
a
those
broken but
pimples that lives underneath the skin.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or like a cancer or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that does make sense. Mm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have any more questions now,
Okay.
but
Well, that was a lot of them. I just think everything's working out the way it's supposed to, and we're kind of going forth and not to worry too much because the change is happening now,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Today in the paper actually, I've never read anything by this particular journalist. She's a business owner, but I think she does once a week. She writes in the paper. Apparently, I don't know. Anyway, the headline was how COVID hit transparency, and
Yeah.
I took it. Look at that. I read most of the article, and basically, she was saying that we made all these. Nothing was transparent. We made all these decisions based off of science, and she was just ripping apart the whole narrative pretty much. And
Yeah.
it was a really big. It was like 2/3 of a page. You know, really big spread in the paper, and to me that seemed like a really big step forward. Because it's
Yeah. I feel like the flip of the switch has happened.
hmm,
Almost like we were climbing a mountain and we're finally starting to come down the mountain. And it's going to get more and more and more and also something is going to happen that causes like an avalanche of information.
yeah,
But we're kind of in the point where, when a dam breaks, like you see all of a sudden there's like the crack gets wider and then it breaks completely. That's where we're at. I
hmm,
feel like the crack is widening and the water's coming through, and that's the information. And pretty soon that whole dam is going to just be destroyed, and it's going to be like the biggest flood you've ever seen. You're frozen. Okay. Well, oh, there you're
there you
back.
are. Yeah.
Okay.
we both froze. So you
Yeah.
said that the crack was widening of the dam.
Yeah. The crack is widening until the dam just breaks. And then we
Hmm.
have just the flood that like takes everything out. Like all the information will just flood out. And it's going to be really
Right.
painful for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine
Yeah.
so. Um, I wonder what the letters to the editor will say about that article. There's always, it's no doubt that'll ruffle a lot of feathers, what she
Hmm.
said.
But it
Of
has to,
course,
yeah, it has to happen now.
yeah. That article would have been great 2 years ago. Better late than never, though. But it would have been good.
Yeah. I feel like they
I
had to
guess.
finish the cleanup. Like they had to get done with the cleanup process before they could really be honest about what was going on. Like
Hmm,
it was part of keeping everybody busy while they were cleaning.
yeah, and also, you kind of have to let it play out for a little bit. If you do it after 6 months, people will go, "We haven't given them enough chance. Like you haven't given the government a good enough chance to do their thing yet." When you know, looking back in with the benefit of hindsight after 2.5 years,
Yeah.
where they didn't change anything. They just kept running the same thing over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And now people can look and go, yeah, I guess that article does make a bit of sense. But there'll definitely be some people who disagree, I'm sure. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, you can tell who's still like under the spell of it all because they'll hear something, and all of a sudden there's more of these, more masks, They're,
There's still people wearing them here,
yeah, and we have that too.
outside,
Mhm.
driving by
Oh,
themselves.
not
There's still people,
outside. Mm.
wearing them outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see that here, but I do see it like in the store and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, you think that that new thing that's got that outrageous name, whatever the new thing is real?
they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me feel sorry for them at this point. Like, I'm not, I'm like, okay, I'm sad for you because that's going to really hurt when everything comes out. Like, it's going to be the
Mm,
hardest on people that are so indoctrinated.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see a lot of bus drivers because you have to wear them on the
Yeah.
bus and the train here. But so I've seen loads of bus drivers just not wearing them. Like they have it half on or on their chin and stuff, and they're clearly fed up with it now.
Yeah. I mean, you can only suffocate for so long. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
But
crazy.
well, what's the deal with that film still?
Oh, what's the deal with what?
With the Philadelphia thing and the schools, and they're getting the kids to wear them still.
Oh,
I sent it to you on
was
Telegram.
that the child and, not, it was called an abuse?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they're trying to disclose what it really is.
Hmm.
Yeah. I didn't actually watch it yet, so.
That's all right. They basically said that they're going to have, uh, I think, first grade or something like that. They have to wear them for a week to 10 days when they first come back, but then younger kids have to wear them for the whole year. And the CDC's just announced their relaxed guidelines, or scrap the old
Mhm.
guidelines entirely, and they're still making them wear them. So
Yeah, I
very
think it's
strange.
going to be part of the demise of the school system. So,
Oh yeah, well
yeah,
that
yeah, it's going to be government, medical, school, church in that sequence as far as being exposed.
right.
But they've held everything off for a really long time. So I feel like things will happen maybe faster than I even was thinking because it's been months of waiting for things to
Hmm.
start. And now that they're starting, it feels like things will happen even faster because they've waited too long, you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those. It's like having a band-aid, isn't it? It's like, oh, you don't want to take it off
Yeah.
straight away, but then it's just ripping it off is the best thing. But the longer you leave it, the worse it gets. And
Yeah. I don't think the trickle effect is going to work anymore. Like they have
no,
to let it loose.
because they've been doing a lot of disclosure. It's been quite an operation. It's fascinating to see, certain people becoming more aware of things, and you know,
Yeah. It's
and
been
just
nuts.
just a year ago, they would have been calling you crazy, but now they're coming around to all this information.
Hmm. They are.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're kind of seeing like, oh, maybe this doesn't feel quite right. The biggest thing is things, especially with government, have to begin to switch before the large majority of the male population wakes up
Mm,
because they're going to be really angry and they're going to want to do something about it. So
mm,
they're not going to understand I think right away that it's been playing out as a movie because a lot of people have gotten hurt through
No,
this
they won't.
movie.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
won't know.
So things have to be rolling and changing before they wake up. And they're on the verge.
Changing for the better, you mean? Like
Yeah, changing
doing,
for the
yeah,
better, for them to see that there's action happening.
yeah,
So, and I've been getting that constantly, but it's like there's a very thin veil over the majority of the male population. And once they awaken, like if they don't have something rolling and happening, they're going to be really angry and they're going to do something about it.
yeah.
So, I
How do you see, as a final question, how do you see the disclosure about the children and other things of that nature coming out? Like, is that going to be on the media? How are they going to do that? Or
I feel like some of it will come out with the government stuff,
mm,
but the majority of it, like the real true reason and the deep, underbelly of it will come out with the
for the
religion.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
right,
it'll begin at the beginning, like it'll begin to start trickling out because, a lot of the politicians and, the
yeah,
actors and stuff were involved in it, but I don't think they'll show the true, real nastiness of it until the church gets exposed.
mm, okay.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
And are they going to and are they going to they're going to tell you everything, or are they just going to tell you a little bit?
I think they
Like
have to tell us everything. So if you already know it, don't watch
with
it.
the with the ETs and stuff, they're going to tell you all about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We're going to find out the real whole story, and some people will be able to handle it and some will not, and they'll want to not be here anymore.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep. But that's what's coming. So we're going to be not in shock. We're going to be like the cleanup crew, kind of, you know, like creating the new things that are coming and saying, I know that happened, but this is what we're creating out of that. We're changing everything so that
mm,
people have a little bit of hope, you know,
yeah,
because really a lot of stuff has already been created. And I think that's why the alleviation of like survival will be, alleviated. People won't have to worry about money.
yeah. That's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be easier for them to absorb what's been happening if they don't have to think about like where can I buy groceries? Can I fill the tank full of gas? Do I have a place to live? Those kind of worries will go away during this whole
Mm.
process of disclosure.
Do you see that being over a process of like a number of years or
Months,
months?
months.
Months.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Hmm.
It's
It's going to
a
be crazy.
Yeah.
Would there be anything? Would there be anything that may shock even people like us and the people that are watching this video? Would there be anything that I'm sure there will be.
Yeah.
Surely there'll be
A
something that we
lot.
don't. There'll be things. There'll be lots of stuff that we don't know yet. That will even though we know a fair amount, it would
I
shock
think
even
the
us.
integration of the people outside of the dome that have been waiting to come in and help, and also the integration of ETs, like
Mm.
that will be so unfamiliar to us. Like we can imagine it, but just to have it happening is going to be like, wow, like I've just been plopped into a sci-fi movie. So it'll take everybody a little bit of getting used to things. And the technology I keep getting is so mind blowing that we're not ready for it at this point.
Yeah,
So, like
yeah.
when I'm asking, people are asking, well, what's the technology like? And I'm like, I'm not allowed to say. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not allowed to even know really a lot of it because it's overwhelming.
Mm.
So we're going to
Yeah.
get introduced to things over this decade. It'll take a
Yeah.
whole decade for things to roll out, but survival will not be a thing during this process. You'll have enough to
Right.
survive and you'll be comfortable. Yep.
Okay. That's good. That's great.
So, yeah, that was good. Thank you, David.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. So, and I'm glad the internet held up for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It did in the end,
Yeah.
for the
Thank
most part.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
See you
Bye.
later.